just make other people happy. I mean, that's the great joy of life for me, and I think for most people, if they'll admit it, is making other people happy is what it's all about. I think that there's no greater message carrier than a great dish of food.
Celebrity chef Paul Prudhomme today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. If you enjoy Creole or Cajun cuisine, you should probably thank Chef Paul Prudhomme. As the founder and head chef of K. Paul's Louisiana Kitchen in New Orleans, Chef Paul helped introduce the rest of America to the Cajun and Creole cuisines. Now, Paul was one of 13 kids in his family. His father was a farmer. His mother's family included some early Cajun settlers. Paul opened his first restaurant when he was just 17. It was a hamburger joint, and it closed after just a few months, but it launched his professional food career. And by 1979, he was on top. That was the year he and his wife Kay opened K. Paul's in New Orleans. Now, 5 years after that, Paul published his first cookbook, the signature cookbook called Chef Paul Prudhomme's Louisiana Kitchen. It's still a staple in kitchens across America today. 10 more cookbooks would follow over the next 20 years. He also developed and created a line of spices and sauces, which can still be found in millions of kitchens across America. Now, one day in 1989, Paul and I had lunch. Well, now, to be accurate, he came to my studio and made us lunch. And that's what you're about to hear. In just a moment, my lunch and conversation with Paul Prudhomme.
Come back with us now as we relive a little piece of our cultural history on Now I've Heard Everything. This interview is from Bill Thompson's 30-year archive. Enjoy.
So here now, from 1989, Chef Paul Prudhomme.
My name's Paul Prudhomme, and I own a company with my wife Kay, who's called Chef Paul Prudhomme's Magic Seasoning Blends.
You know, it struck me that probably the only time you really get to enjoy yourself cooking must be during these interviews that you do. You must be so busy.
Well, it just seems that way. You know, like while we're here with you in Washington, we're going to be doing several other things, and this is going to be played, as we talked about before, next weekend and the weekend after. And so it seems like I'm probably a lot more places than I really am.
Do you ever get tired of cooking?
Not cooking, no. Absolutely not. I get tired of traveling, but it doesn't get tired of cooking. No, cooking is probably the best way to relax. I think the happiest I am is when I'm at the restaurant doing base sauces, having control of the restaurant and having control of the taste of the food. You know, and I always control it through the guys that work with me because we've been together so long. But I'm talking about absolute control by doing it yourself. And that, to me, is just absolutely wonderful. When you
were a youngster, when you were a boy growing up, did you ever dream that you would grow up to be a nationally famous? You've got cookbooks, you've got spices, you're on television, you've got restaurants. Did you ever dream of any of that?
No, my only fantasy, I think, in my entire life was to have at least $25 in my pocket that I didn't need, okay? There's a difference in that and having $25. One to $25 that I didn't need, and just make other people happy. I mean, that's the great joy of life for me, and I think for most people, if they'll admit it, is making other people happy is what it's all about.
And food is one universal thing that makes everybody happy.
I think that there's no greater message carrier than a great dish of food.
So what are you going to fix today?
Well, we're doing a recipe that's unusual because it's a rice salad, and rice salads have not been popular. But rice is if you handle it just like you do pasta, if you pre-cook it and you cook it to the right texture, and then you wash it off to make sure there's no starch on it, and you can cool it down and reheat it. And rice is very versatile, and it's also a natural product. So rice can be very good. And we're doing a pasta today. It's a seasoned rice pasta with seafood in it, and it's really easy to do, and it uses a technique that's kind of surprising because and we'll get into it in a minute, but it's like making a mayonnaise, but you're not.
You know, it's always struck me that people like yourself and Jeff Smith, you make it look so easy. When you guys do it, it just, everything just falls right into place. Everything comes out perfectly shaped and colored and seasoned and done. And I get home and I try it, and just invariably, I follow your instructions to the letter, and something goes wrong. What am I doing wrong?
Well, I think that the most important thing about cooking is being prepared. and it's just like doing your radio show. Before we started, we chatted a bit, and so you were preparing yourself. And when I go to cook, like you see, I'm prepared. I'm going to use lemon juice, and I have it in my hand, and it's all measured out. And I'm going to use vinegar, and I have it all measured out. I'm going to use oil, and it's all ready to go. And I don't have to look for anything. Most people at home make one real bad mistake when they're cooking, and they don't prepare themselves. They don't get everything together. When people are going to cook one of my recipes, or anybody's that they've never cooked before, they should read the recipe several days in advance. They should, the day before they're going to cook, they should make a shopping list and go shopping and chop everything. Put it in the refrigerator in concealed containers, and they should measure all the ingredients that they're going to have, as well as chop. When they're going to cook, take everything out, set it next to the stove or next to where they're going to work, and take a stool out and sit there and cook. And the enjoyment from that is just astronomical, because you get to see all the things happen in the pot. And when it says, put a cup of onions, you don't have to go, oh, I forgot the onions, and run for it, And it just makes cooking a great pleasure and a great learning experience.
Boy, it smells good already.
And
you've just gotten started.
And what we've done so far is we got a skillet with boiling water, and we're going to poach some fish fillets. And the fish we're using is what we call a blackfish, or a drum fish, and it's fresh fish. It hasn't been frozen, and you can see it has a beautiful pink color to it. I mean, fresh fish smells wonderful. Smells like the sea. We got water, and it's just at a good a heavy simmer, a rolling simmer, and we've put some Seafood Magic in it, which is the Magic seasoning blends. Seafood Magic is the one. We're going to put a little bit of lemon juice in it, and I'm going to reserve some for the sauce. And I'm going to put some vinegar in it and reserve some for the sauce. And then just put the smell change already. I don't know if you can smell it over there, but as soon as you put the acids in, the smell changes immediately.
Now, do you go by my grandmother's pinch of this, pinch of that method?
I do for cooking. And you have to, if you're experienced, you want to go by the pinch of this and pinch of that, because every time you get a product, if you're using fresh products, and if you're trying to do the best you can with it, every product's going to be different. Every time you get an onion, it's going to be different than the onion that you got before. And every time you get flour, the next bag of flour is different from the one you had before. And so you constantly make little adjustments. And you do that from your senses. I do it from looking. Like, I didn't taste this yet, but I can smell it. So I'm doing it from sight and smell. And then I'm going to taste it and make sure that I have enough seasoning in it, and that I've put enough acid in it. Now I know it because I just tasted it. So I do know that's right.
Now, you can't do that.
Poach the fish in that.
I don't think you could do that the first time you make the recipe, could you?
Well, you if you're experienced cook, yes. But the first time you make a recipe, the important thing to do is get prepared. Get everything gathered, and start working from that recipe and be able to follow it comfortably, because that makes it fun. If you get one of my recipes and it says, it's supposed to stick in the bottom of the pot, well, if you're doing other things and you're running back and forth and you're going to worry about that burning. But truly, making things stick in the pot is the first step of having a great dish. And whether you're cooking in a skillet or finishing a product, or the first 3 or 4 minutes that it's in the pot is going to determine the dish, the taste of the dish.
Really?
The ultimate taste of it, sure. You can't get taste out of things if it boils. And once you start adding the liquids to it, then the taste should already be there, and the liquids just spread them or adjust them or get them in different levels. It's like if you take a piece of steak, like a New York strip, and you cut it in half, and you take half of that and you drop it in boiling water. You take the other half and put it on the barbecue pit. Which one's going to taste better? So when you start cooking, you actually have to develop that taste before you put the liquids in.
Wow. You really have to concentrate when you're cooking, don't you?
Yes, and it's a part of the challenge and the fun of cooking to me is to be able to look at it and smell it and taste it and say, oh, that needs such and such, or you got to put a little more salt in it, or you got to put a little more vinegar in it, or you got to put a little more, and that to me is the exciting thing about cooking.
But you've also got to be more patient with it than a lot of people are willing these days, it seems to be.
Well, I think there's all kinds of cooking to be done and should be done. I think that it's an inherent thing that some of us are busy, and we we don't have time to do it, to the extent that other people do. And when that happens, you need convenience food. You need help. You need, and I think that as time goes on, you'll see more help along the way. For instance, these mixed blends of seasoning, there's 7 different kinds, and they're for each different thing. And so you don't have to worry about if you have all the seasonings on the shelf. If you're buying the blended seasonings, it's all there. And I think you'll see in the future, you'll see chopped onions in the store, and commercially they're already available. In other words, my restaurant can buy, we don't, but we can buy chopped onions. We can buy chopped bell pepper and celery, and we can buy garlic and that's already peeled, and all those convenience. And they're going to eventually get to the consumer level, because people do want to cook. They just don't have the time to do all the manual stuff, and there's no longer being able to afford somebody to help you do that. Even if you have if you are a 2-income family, the way prices are today, it takes all the money. You can't afford a lot, and there's not people around that want to work.
Do you ever use a microwave?
Yes, we do. We use them to sit on, we use them to prop our feet up, We've put some crushed tomatoes in a tomato sauce in a stainless steel bowl, and I'm adding some acid to it. I'm adding some vinegar to it, and I'm adding a little bit of lemon juice. Now, the first steps, what I'm doing is combining acids, and by combining acids, there's 3 kinds of acid there. There's the acid that's in the tomatoes, and the one that's in the lemon juice, and the one that's in the vinegar. And so, with the consistency or the texture of the tomatoes, and by combining those acids, I'm gonna make it make room for an additional thing for it to absorb. Let me explain it to you this way: like egg yolks absorb and egg whites absorb, and they absorb by adding oil to them in a steady stream, and by whipping it, which incorporates oxygen into it. And you need things in it to make it absorb more. You put other liquids in the egg yolks, like wine or vinegar or lemon juice, and so we're using the same principle here. We're actually using the principle to make a mayonnaise, and we're making a tomato sauce dressing with that principle. And so we have the chopped tomatoes in a tomato sauce, we have vinegar, and we have lemon juice, and now we're going to stream. We got a mixing bowl with a whisk, and we're going to stream some oil into it, and the tomatoes are going to absorb the oil, and it's going to, if you can see in the bowl here, it's starting to change color, and it's just like if you had egg yolks in there. They'd start out real yellow, and as you put oil in them, they'd get more opaque or less color to them, blander color, more pastel in color, and that's happening to the tomatoes because the tomatoes are expanding and they're absorbing the oil, and it's changing them, and that's happening through the help of the acids, but also it's happening from the action of the whisk and incorporated oxygen into it. Every time you see the tomatoes, it flares up when I put the whisk through it. It traps oxygen, and that oxygen is a bubble that's created that absorbs the oil.
It strikes me you're a very, very courageous man. If I wore white when I was mixing tomato sauce, it wouldn't be white very long.
Well, see, I don't mind if I splatter on myself. You see, like...
But you haven't splattered on yourself. You're perfectly neat. I can't eat and be that neat.
After this short break, we had lunch.
AI is not just for 22-year-old coders. A lot of us older adults are drawing on our life experience to find unique and creative ways to use AI, at home or at work. Got an AI success story you'd like to share? Tap the link below to visit our YouTube channel, AI After 40, and let's keep learning together.
Now back to my 1989 conversation with Paul Prudhomme.
You see, there's a little bit of oil showing on top, but all that oil I put in there, and we actually put about 3/4 cup of oil, it got absorbed by the tomatoes. And so now the reason you want to absorb the oil, and the reason you want to put oil in it, and the reason you put oil in salads, is because most salads have either starches or it has greens in it, and those things, oil is satisfying to them. Oil makes them work in your mouth. When you start chewing them, it makes it a pleasant taste. In the instance of starches has tendency to get sticky, and when they get sticky and they start sticking in your mouth, the only thing that really washes that down. There's a lot of water or a cold drink or that. But what really does it well and does it with taste is some kind of oil. And so we use mayonnaise with oil in it. And then you need the richness of it. So here, instead of the richness of an egg yolk, I'm using the acid, those 3 acids, to give you a wonderful taste change. Because as you chew it, it's going to change and change and change. And we're also going to add to this. We're going to add a little bit of pickles. And these are sweet dills. Sweet pickle that are chopped up, and we're going to leave the vegetables raw because it's important in a dish of food to have a crunch in it. And we're adding a little bit of bell pepper and celery, and we're going to add some onions and just stir it right into the dressing. And so we're going to have not only a mixture of taste, but we're going to also have a mixture of textures. And that's what makes things exciting to eat. What makes when you start chewing and you start hitting different textures and different tastes, then you start having this emotion about food. You start having this thing, boy, I'm eating something that's good.
As long as you don't encounter a texture or taste that you hadn't reasonably been expecting. If there were a chicken bone or something in there, that would be a
well, that would be the wrong kind of texture. You're absolutely right. That would be a texture that would set off alarms in your head. I would say, I don't like that, or I don't want that, or that doesn't feel good. But what we look for when we eat, when you've, I'm sure it's happened to everybody. It's probably happened to you. You've had a big meal, and you know that you've had a lot of food, but when it's all over, you say to yourself, "Boy, I still want something." And probably what happened was that the food wasn't very exciting to eat, or that the textures didn't satisfy you as you chewed them, and it didn't satisfy all your senses. And so we turned to desserts, where in fact if we had a meal that was completely satisfying taste-wise, and usually herbs and spices is one of the things that'll make that happen. But if we have a meal that's satisfying taste-wise and satisfying texture-wise, then when it's over, we feel like we've really eaten and that we've got enough. And what I'm doing now is I'm taking the fish out of the poaching water, and boy, does it smell good. And I'm putting it into pieces. And it don't have to be, it doesn't have to be any method to it. You just take it and sort of just flake it off, like you see me doing here, into nice little chunks. And we'll let it cool a bit, and then we'll make the salad. Because the salad is really, it's not a cold salad, and it's not a warm salad. It's not a hot salad. It's a room temperature salad. And I think that for me, even green salads, even lettuce salads, I much prefer it at room temperature. I was never a fan of cold salads, not in my entire life. I always was a mystery to me why you'd want to start your meal with a cold plate and a cold fork and cold lettuce. But
now, just as a testimony to how easy this is to prepare, you've been fixing it now while we've been talking. You've been concentrating on talking to me and just kind of fixing this food as a side activity.
Yeah, and this is not a recipe that I'm very familiar with, because it was created not too long ago, and I think this is probably the 3rd or 4th time, besides through the creation process, that I've done it. And so it's an easy recipe to do. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of concentration, and it's one that if you're doing for guests, you can get steps of it ready. For instance, the fish could be ready and the dressing could be ready, and then at the last minute you could go in the kitchen and mix it together and have it room temperature, and it would really be wonderful tasting and fresh tasting, and just take you a minute to do it.
Gee.
And the next steps are, I've got all the fish down into pieces, and we're going to just move that over, and then we're going to take the whisk out of the, I'm going to whisk it just once more to make sure that the oil's staying in real nice, and it's looking real pretty too. And when we start putting the rice in it, it's going to really finish it off and give it the right kind of color and texture through all the vegetables that are in it. And you just put the rice right on top of a mixing bowl with the dressing in it, and we dump in the rice. And the rice is I would say just right at room temperature, probably right at 80 degrees. And we're going to mix it first with the tomatoes. And I like to use, if I'm mixing rice or pasta, I like to use a folding action where you don't really do it violently, because starches have a tendency to crush, or starches have a tendency to mash and to get sort of mushy looking if you're too violent with them. So we're going to just, and once it starts, you see the colors are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the textures, you can see them because they're different. And we just put the fish pieces right on top. And in this salad, you can use fish like I did. Or you can use shrimp. You can use oysters. All you got to do is poach them in a seasoned liquor first. You can use shrimp, and we'll just take that up on the pan and just put it right in.
Ooh.
And
now, where did this recipe come from? Is this your own creation?
This is when we did. We were talking before we went on the air about the new little book, the Favorite Recipes book, and we did 50 new recipes. It says 71 recipes in the little book, and we did 50 of those recipes in 5 days, and new creations. And it was one of the best 5 days of my life because I was completely absorbed into creating new recipes for this book, and using the seasoning to work with. And it was one of not only was it fun and easy, fun and exciting, but it was also very easy to do. And we create a lot of recipes at the restaurant, but 10 a day is an enormous amount to create.
Yes.
And so
what, they give you free access to a grocery store, or
well, what they did was we have a test kitchen, and I worked in the test kitchen from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock at night for several days in a row. We're gonna give you some of that.
Ooh.
And we'll probably need to season it a little more because I didn't taste it, and we will check the seasoning out.
Oh, is that good?
Yes, we do need to season it a little more. But it has. You see what I'm talking about? The acids.
Mm-hmm.
How they sort of move around when you chew with the starch.
This is too good.
They start. The acids start to go in one direction, then they change. And that's because anytime you combine 3 different tastes of the same thing, in other words, there's 3 different acids, but each one of those acids is perceived as different to our taste buds. Every time you do that, you get wonderful taste change.
Tell me again what kind of fish this is. This is great.
This is a black drumfish.
Ooh. Oh, this is so good.
And putting the herbs and spices on it really gonna brighten it up. And we're gonna just shake a little bit right on the rice and the salad. Well, I want to show you something. Just take a little bit and just give it one shake on what you have there, and then kind of stir it up.
About like that.
Yeah, that's great. It's like you'd be putting salt on, and it'll give you salad another dimension. I think that it's almost like a different thing again, because the taste goes in more directions. What we strive for, in creating a new recipe and in cooking, is to have a complete taste, to have a full taste that when you eat something, it affects all it affects sweet, it affects salt, it affects all the taste, the sour, the bitter, all the taste that your range of taste can perceive.
When you create something like this, you really are much more than just a cook, and much more than just a technician of the kitchen. If you're really an artist when you put something like this, aren't you?
Well, I've always felt that food is an art, and that we've the chefs of the world prove it constantly by making these wonderful, absolutely beautiful art displays with food. The one thing that I think that we in the world of cooking have done wrong is that we've made those inedible. When you see them, you can't go over there and take a taste of it. And it's one of the things that we're striving to change now, because we're doing art that you can eat. And it's more satisfying to us, because people look at it and say it's pretty is one thing, but if they taste it and say they loved it, or you see a reaction on their face, then that's a whole different thing. And so I think in the future you're going to see a lot of cooking contests where people get to eat the food. And to me, that's the best kind of cooking contest in the world.
Oh, this is so good. This is really good.
Eat the gold medal, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm looking at my timer. My time is just about all up.
One thing that I think people should realize is that if you use herbs and spices in your cooking, that it's going to make the food more adventuresome. It's going to make it better. And you don't have to put a lot. You don't have to make it Mexican. You don't have to make it Cajun. You don't have to make it Italian. What you have to make it is good. And if you use a seasoning blend, that works real well to get started. But you can do your own. I mean, if you bought the first cookbook or the second cookbook, Louisiana Kitchen, or the Prudhomme Family Cookbook, there's hundreds of recipes for seasoning blends in it, and you can pick one out and do it and try it yourself. The point is that it's going to make your family happier and make your eating time a lot more exciting if you have seasoned food.
You are an incredibly talented man. Thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Chef Paul's wife, Kay, died in 1993. Chef Paul died in 2015 at the age of 75. Now you can get your copy of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Louisiana Kitchen by Chef Paul Prudhomme by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 2009 conversation with one of Paul Prudhomme's proteges, Emeril Lagasse.
They take it right out of the refrigerator, right onto the grill, and they wonder why it sticks. Then they wonder why it's all charred before it's cooked internally because it's on so high.
And my 2004 conversation with the great Anthony Bourdain.
When I started out in the business, cooking was something you did in between, roofing and house painting jobs or convictions. Now it's a career. It's a glamour profession. Who saw that coming?
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, a conversation with the man often considered one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. My 2009 conversation with the hitman, Bret Hart.
In writing my story, I just wanted people to understand that it was, I think I said something in the book about pro wrestling's all bullshit, but that bullshit was everything to me.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.